Every single morning, while you are still hitting snooze, someone in your city is already 3 hours deep into building the kind of wealth that will separate your financial futures forever. That gap is not about talent. It is not about luck. It is about what happens between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. And most people will never know what is actually going on in those hours. In 2019, researcher Laura Vanderkam spent 4 weeks tracking the daily habits of 90 executives earning over $3 million annually. She found that 89% of them woke up at least 3 hours before their first professional commitment, not to check emails, not to scroll social media. They were executing a specific sequence of decisions and actions that directly compounded their financial position before the rest of the world even opened their eyes. The 1 in 10 who did not follow this pattern consistently ranked lowest in income growth over the following 2 years. That is not a coincidence. So, what is actually happening at 5 a.m. that builds wealth? Let us break down the exact mechanisms, because this is not about willpower or discipline as a personality trait. This is about a structural advantage that gets baked into every single day. The first mechanism is what high earners call protected decision time. Your brain operates on a finite supply of cognitive glucose. Every decision you make throughout the day draws from that same tank. By 9 a.m. in a reactive morning, a regular employee has already spent dozens of micro decisions on what to wear, what to eat, whether to answer that text, how to handle the traffic. Millionaires structurally eliminate all of that noise before the world demands anything from them. They make their highest leverage financial and strategic decisions first, when the brain is operating at peak capacity. Warren Buffett has spoken publicly about simplifying his morning routine to near zero so that every ounce of cognitive energy goes toward investment thinking. He is not unique in this. He is following a structural pattern. The second mechanism is what behavioral economists call the compounding identity effect. When you wake up at 5 a.m. and execute a deliberate morning routine consistently, you are not just completing tasks. You are literally building a self-image as someone who operates differently than average. An identity drives behavior far more powerfully than motivation does. Research from University College London shows it takes an average of 66 days for a behavior to become automatic. Once your 5 a.m. routine becomes automatic, every financial decision you make throughout the day is unconsciously filtered through the identity of someone who takes their wealth seriously. That is not soft psychology. That changes the actual choices you make. If you are finding this breakdown useful, subscribe right now and hit the bell. We publish financial mechanisms like this every single week, and the next video in this series will change how you think about where your money actually goes. Now let us get into the specific structure that high earners use in those early hours. It follows a pattern of 3 distinct blocks. Block 1 runs from 5 a.m. to 5:45 a.m. This is the physical activation block. Not because exercise is morally virtuous, but because 30 to 45 minutes of elevated heart rate increases dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin simultaneously. These are the exact neurochemicals responsible for risk tolerance, pattern recognition, and executive function. In other words, the biological state required to make good financial decisions. A study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine tracked 400 high-income professionals and found that those who exercised before 8 a.m. made measurably better financial projections and negotiation outcomes than those who exercised later or not at all. Your body chemistry is a financial instrument. Most people never use it. Block 2 runs from 5:45 to 6:30 a.m. This is the strategic clarity block. No phone, no news, no external inputs. This block is reserved exclusively for reviewing financial goals, tracking net worth movement, journaling about money decisions made the previous day, and identifying the single highest value action for the day ahead. This practice is directly linked to what psychologists call implementation intentions. When you mentally rehearse a specific financial action in a calm, focused state, you are between 2 and 3 times more likely to execute it when the opportunity arises. This is the block where millionaires are not working hard. They are working architecturally. Block 3 runs from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. This is the learning and edge block. High earners use this time exclusively for financial education, industry intelligence, or skill development that directly increases their earning or investing capacity. Not general news, not entertainment, targeted, applicable knowledge. Over the course of 1 year, at 1 hour per day, that is 365 hours of compound learning. That is equivalent to 9 full 40-hour work weeks of additional financial education that your peers are simply not getting. That edge accumulates. Here is what ties all three blocks together. The 5 a.m. wake up is not the habit. It is the keystone behavior, the one that makes the other behaviors structurally possible. When you sleep in until 7:30, you are in survival mode from the moment you open your eyes. There is no protected time, no strategic clarity, no edge building. You are reactive all day, and reactive people do not build wealth. They manage it at best. The practical starting point is not to immediately wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Research on habit formation shows that a 30-minute incremental shift every 5 days is dramatically more sustainable than an overnight overhaul. Start this week by moving your alarm 30 minutes earlier and protecting that time for one of the three blocks. Do not add the others until the first one feels automatic. You are not building a morning routine. You are engineering a wealth operating system. The gap between where you are financially and where you want to be is not primarily an income problem. It is a structure problem. And structure is something you can actually control starting tomorrow morning. If this gave you a new lens on how wealth actually gets built, subscribe and leave a comment telling me which of the three blocks you are going to start with. And make sure you watch our next video where we expose exactly how your spending patterns after 7 p.m. are silently destroying the financial progress you made all day. That one will hit differently.